Hi there. Welcome to another edition of Property Particulars, the LA podcast from the residential property team and the private wealth team here at Leicester Aldridge. Today, I have a colleague and friend, Mahendree Naidoo. Welcome.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for
Welcome
having
to
me.
the podcast. So let's start about you. Who are you? When did you come to LA? As in, when I've known you come to LA, because there's another story there, isn't there? And what's your role?
Well, I am a partner in the Tax Trust and Wills team in the London office. I mean, we've known each other for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
I'm what I call a LA boomerang.
I love that.
I started off with LA in 2005. I'm originally from South Africa. I'm a dual qualified attorney. I can practice in South Africa and practice as a solicitor in the UK. And my journey, it started in LA in 2005 in our Bournemouth office on our international team. And then I moved to London and worked with the Tax Trust and Wills team in London.
Still in LA at that point?
Still in LA at that point. Did that for about 11 years. Mm-hmm. And then obviously went off and had some children. And on return from maternity leave, I wanted a new challenge. So I went off for 6 years and headed up a private client team for a leading accountancy firm in London. Did that for a while. It was really great. But then obviously wanted to return home, as I see it, at LA. There was an opportunity to come back to London. To work with you and John and, head up the London offering for private client on the Tax Trust and Wills side. And back home.
All fell into place. We nabbed you back.
Nabbed me back.
And did you, have you seen a difference in the London offices, I suppose, from the time before at LA and then the gap and then coming back to, because we weren't here at that point.
Yeah, I must admit, all offices with LA are wonderful places to work with. London has a different feel to it. The London office now definitely has a different feel to it. We've got a lot of younger staff, very energetic, very vibrant. So that's a different feel. I think we have a different way we work. I mean, we dress differently to the office now than we did back in the day.
No suits.
No suits. I mean, I do love I do love a jacket, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's moving to that direction. I think a more relaxed atmosphere, all working hard, but just in a relaxed way.
Yeah, exactly. And then one of my team members, of course, is your favourite person in the world.
Oh, yes.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
The four-legged friend, is
Yes.
Yes, MJ. I mean, there's
the
nothing better than having MJ here on a Tuesday.
He helps out on the Tuesday.
It definitely does make, especially when it's a dull or a really stressful day, having a cuddle from MJ definitely puts me back.
And we have a selection of doggies that sometimes come in now. It's not just MJ, even though I'm his champion, obviously.
I know. Although we got Peggy. I'm a bit upset because I'm not allowed to give Peggy any treats. So, she's on a diet, but yeah.
But Gilu has not made an appearance yet. Your doggie.
No, Gilu, unfortunately, can't do trains and the underground. Oh. Might bring him in one day maybe on a Friday when it's nice and quiet. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe. Cool. So yes, Mahendree, let's go on to a typical question that I would ask you. So when I have clients coming to me, quite often from different jurisdictions as well, overseas, buying in London or elsewhere, and sometimes they'll get the offer accepted, and the first question they tell me, or ask me, is, oh yeah, we're thinking about buying in a trust deed. Can you do that for us? And I always say, well, no, I can't, but I know somebody that can. And so then I would introduce my client to you, but quite often maybe they don't actually have the advice at that point.
Yeah, I think it's important. The most important question is, why do you want to buy in a trust? And it could be reasons because, for example, they want to buy in their children's names, but their children are under 18. And legally they can't hold a property or the legal title to a property. So it might be beneficial for them to look at put it into a trust structure. But there obviously are some tax implications that come with that, especially if the gift into the trust structure is coming from a parent. Or it could be, which we have a lot of reasons that clients tend to want to go that way, is looking at asset preservation and preserving that asset, which they see as a family asset for future generations. And it could be things like protecting the asset from children who are not really good with money at the moment.
Okay.
So they want to delay passing that inheritance down to them. Or it could be that they are in bad relationships or marriages, and so trying to protect that asset. Or it could be something simple like wanting to create a family base and keep that in the family for generations.
Yeah.
But obviously we do need to, it's not simple, we do need to look at the trust structures, we need to look at what type of structure they want, whether it's a discretionary trust, which is something where you have a potential beneficiary, so they don't have an automatic right to the asset. Okay. It's all at the discretion of the trustees, or and most importantly, looking at the tax implications. Because
so it's not easy.
It's not easy.
What is basically what we're saying is
it's not easy.
It's not an easy one quick job.
It's not an easy one quick job, but our role is to try and make it as simple as possible and try to explain to clients in a way that is easy for them to understand. And I think the most important thing is understanding what the client's ultimate goal is, and then working around that to give it to them. And sometimes a trust structure might not be the best way.
So yeah, exactly. And those, I'm sure we've had some together where it started off as they've thought they needed to buy in a trust structure.
Exactly.
They've spoken to you, and then they've come back, and actually we've then proceeded as was, because they'll have other tax implications, etc.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes, with a trust structure, unless it's a bare trust, you're immediately looking at a 20% tax charge if it's over £325,000. And with the properties we're dealing with in London, the potential for that immediate charge is there.
Yeah.
So while it might make sense, they might have a really great wish to retain the asset and preserve the asset. It might not be as strong a wish when you look at the tax implications. So it's really important for us to actually get to know our clients, get to know what they want to achieve.
Definitely. Understand the whole family as well.
Understand the whole family.
Yeah, and their purpose of why they're buying this property. Yeah, well, it's so helpful to us in our team that we have you just next door, in the office next door, that we can pop in, because quite often I'm asking you questions where maybe the client isn't instructing you, but we just have that great knowledge here that I know I can come to you and ask you some questions. And sometimes I go back to the clients and go, I've had a word with you, like happy to introduce. But, sometimes they go and get their own tax advice from their own jurisdiction as well, I suppose, from accountants.
Yeah, and that's really important. So when we're working with clients that are what we call non-domiciled, so not domiciled here for inheritance tax purposes. So we have a lot of foreign clients buying property here. It's really important for us to work with their advisors in the jurisdiction that they are domiciled in, or where they lived. Sorry, using a bit of legal jargon.
Yes.
So that whatever we're doing in the UK doesn't affect their legal position and tax position in their home jurisdictions.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes, we'll sometimes be, so our normal transactions can sometimes be, it's just us, the Resi Prop lawyers. But then when we get, when we're doing a bigger transaction with you, and there are then advisors in different jurisdictions, sometimes it becomes more exciting, because there's like lots of different people giving the client advice.
It's really exciting. And for me, I love that bit, because I get to then speak to advisors in different jurisdictions and get to learn more about their jurisdictions and how things work. And, you might have a client in Germany and they've got a different tax or inheritance tax rules compared to ours. Or America's got really beneficial gifting provisions and that sort of thing. So it's really interesting to find.
It's never a straightforward case.
Never
Something different every day.
Exactly. You learn every day.
Yeah, we love it. Okay, thank you. And then, so I have been asking people about their own personal property particulars, but actually for you, we have an interesting one in that sometimes you are my client.
Yes. So as part of my role, I get I get to act as executor for estates, which is actually a really great honour when a client asks you to be an executor of their estate, because you are, in a way, giving effect to their last, their wishes. And often we have estate properties that we need to sell because, just there's not always one beneficiary in an estate, and just makes sense to sell a property. And that's where you guys come in, because obviously property is not my forte. So I become the client.
You're a very good client.
I pay on time.
Yeah.
So and it's good to be able to walk across into the other room, find out how my matter's going. Obviously, I've got to think about the best interests of my client, make sure things run on time, getting the best price for our client for a property transaction, or sometimes it might be clients' wishes. And we've had properties where clients, there might have been a developer putting an offer in, but the family might be very sentimental about it. It might be a family home and they want to sell it to another family, so you've got to weigh that up when you're thinking about accepting an offer. And then you guys come in, and you're quite used to working with that sort of thing. Things can go wrong because sometimes we have no knowledge of the property and the history of the property, and so you guys do all the difficult work making sure that all the previous conveyancing and titles and transfer of title was carried out properly.
Yeah. Some of those cases I think are sometimes the more interesting ones, especially if it's been, for example, a home that's been in a family for a long period of time. I love a bundle of title deeds, which you don't get so often these days. And then we often quite work, because sometimes if you are in charge as the client of placing the property on the market, that's where our wealth of estate agents that we know around in every single area comes into play a lot, because you're often asking me, like, do you know any agents in this particular area? Because you sometimes are responsible for putting
and the
it
thing
on.
is, we can be an executive of an estate in anywhere in London, and I can obviously speak about an area that I live in because I'm familiar with it, but you've got really good relationships with agents across London, and it's good, and because you have that good relationship, you can actually help us by calling up the agent and saying, my partner's an executor, we need to put this property on the market. So at least we know we're working with people we know, and people we can call on if anything goes wrong. Because that's the important thing, is if something's not going to plan, you want to be able to call somebody up and go, what's going on here?
Yeah, and try and push the transaction along as best we can. So basically we refer our work to each other all the time.
Yes.
Although I have not become your client yet.
Yeah, still looking for that ideal property, Doug.
So thank you so much for that. And then to finish up, something completely separate. What about your dream property or fantasy property? Money is no object. Or something within a property, like a particular feature. What would be the ultimate for you?
So my fantasy property would be a small holding somewhere, honestly. Ooh. So I would like a large house, but a small holding where I've got this massive love for animals. So a small holding where I can have some rescue dogs, I can have some horses, and a little working farm. But not too far from the city, because I do love coming into the city, and also I do need access to Deliveroo and Uber Eats, so not too far out.
Definitely.
But a small holding where I can have my animals.
I absolutely love this idea, and then I could come and camp in the garden.
And you can come and camp in the garden, summer festival. Have some more dogs. And I don't know if Sheila would be very happy with that, but bring MJ along.
Mahendree, thank you for joining me today for this episode, and we'll see you soon. Thank you to Mahendree. Please follow us on our social media channels at Leicester Aldridge Property on Instagram for the news of when the next episode will come along.